Hello, welcome back to Beginner Dobro. My name is Justin Gambrel. Now, many of you, if you've been following along and mostly just learning from these lessons while also trying to go out to jam, might be frustrated that it's taken so long to get any understanding to move into breaks that aren't just in G. I know we worked very briefly recently on D, but really we just said G. Here's how you do a break in G. Here's how you do a break in G. And not really gotten a chance to move. And if you're at jams, rarely do you end up playing the entire day in G. Now, most of what we've learned so far in just an open G major pentatonic, if you capo, you can still use that perfectly fine. But that only really helps you in the keys of G, A flat, A, B flat, B, maybe C, but really you don't want to go much higher than capoing to the 4th fret. After that, it just becomes excessive. So when you're playing in C through F, how else could you play a break? You can learn your C scale or your D scale, open, and then maybe capo those a little bit. But ultimately, we can do things in different ways than that. And so today, we're going to be learning a movable scale. This will allow it that without using a capo, you can play a break or any fills in any key that somebody calls, at least in your major keys, to easily be thinking about it here. And so part of why this has taken so long to get to this is that learning your movable scale is so easy if you know your G major pentatonic scale really well. So if you haven't watched that video yet, I would totally recommend going there and messing around with that just to make sure you at least know the concept before moving into this. The reminder that to go from low strings to high strings, your G major pentatonic was 0, 2, 0, 0, 2, 0, 2, 0, 0, 2, 5. Now the trick is that our moving scale is just moving that up. So I'm going to work mostly today in the key of D. But we will really just be pretending to be in whatever key. You act in your mind like you're wearing a capo. So if we were to capo to D, we would put the capo up on the 7th fret. Now, pretending like that's our open, but we're still always going to be holding it down with the steel, we'll just play that same scale again. So you go 0, plus 2, next string 0, next string 0, plus 2 on that string, next up to the G string 0, plus 2, next string 0, next string 0, plus 2, and then all the way up to plus 5. So when you put it together, and it really is just that simple. You're playing exactly what you played down open, but all closed. It's going to sound different. You can't do all your hammer-ons and pull-offs. It's not quite as smooth, maybe not quite as clean, because you're just having to play it differently. But I find it's really simple because you can just picture it. I mean, I can imagine in my head like there's a capo there and can take where I picture the notes, almost like I got little dots on it, and then you just slide it up, and now you're playing it again. If you want to play in C, you'll just start it like your open is on C. E, you can do it up there. A, even if you just don't want a capo. And so I would recommend really starting with D. Again, and when I do our example later, I will be playing in the key of D. But mess with that. Pause the video now even. Work through just feeling it again. And so once you kind of have that under your fingers, that you're working through it, you can come back because we're going to go to an example. I know just in my last video, I've been working through how to play your open D scale in an open position with no capo. And so I'm going to go back and play the exact same song over again, but this time, rather than using the open notes down in your open position, I'm going to play closed and just really try to stick to the notes that we showed here and that we learned here. So let's take a moment now, and we're going to go try that. So bury me beneath the willow, under the weeping willow tree, so she will know where I am sleeping. Perhaps she'll weep for me. So I hope that now that you've heard it, that kind of begins to put some pieces together and connect on how this will sound within a song. Now there's a couple points that I want to make on advancing this a little bit more. First, and I do this with all of our scale videos, is that we can learn where notes exist elsewhere. I know we've talked about that in the open G scale, and all those same alternate positions still work. But what's cool about using the moving scale is that we actually have notes farther down. You can't go farther down past completely open, but we can go farther down past where our pretend open is. So where on your G string, you would go 0 plus 2, that same note that you get on that plus 2 is also on the B string minus 2. And so if I was trying to slide in and out of stuff, you can slide up using the slide with the first 2 notes, or you can use it with the second 2 notes. Now, there's not a right or wrong with that. Sometimes you want to do the one, sometimes you want to do the other. Depends on where you're starting, where you're landing, what the chord you're doing it under. But it's something that is unique to the moving scale that you don't get when you're completely open. And we want to use as many tools in our toolbox that we can. The other, or next thing that comes off of this, and I just said it in that last point, is that we can slide. Your open position is characterized with hammer-ons and pull-offs, you know. It makes it clean because you can't easily slide between open and not open. You can try your best, but there's always that extra awkward steel coming on and off. But here, you have to use your steel for every single note, which means you can be a little more floaty with it. You still want to be quick to the changes, but you can be sliding between notes a lot more. And especially the farther up you get on the neck, the closer the frets get. And that one's clear just by looking at it. And so the more you can slide, the more dobro-y it sounds. As I'm always getting on, we need to, I think we need to, but we definitely want to be making us sound as much like a dobro as possible, because the slides like this is what we can do that the other instruments can't do in the same way. Unlike guitars and mandolins, we're not bound to the frets. So we can be sliding up and down a little bit more. And the more we do that, the more we sound like a dobro. Now, learning the scale is good for trying to get up the neck to the positions and more of the keys that you can't capo all the way up, and playing open maybe you don't want to do. But I think this is really important because it helps us decide whether or not we want to play with a capo, especially in a key like B. Now, I'll go over it in another video, and if you want me to spend more time talking about capos, please leave a comment below saying that you want to hear more about how to use capos, what capos are, different kinds of capos. But I often find that the dobro sound is just never quite as good with a capo. And when you capo, you always lose a couple lower notes. And being able to use this movable scale makes it so you don't have to worry about playing with a capo. I've talked with other dobro players and even some others. We go back and forth. I go back and forth, even, where I go into phases where I want to capo as much as possible because I want to do tons of hammer-ons and pull-offs. And I'm never going to put a capo on because it ruins my sound. If you ask me in a couple months, I'll probably be in a different position. And so this just gives us more tools to use things differently, to play a little differently. And so go ahead, mess with it, play with it, try in different keys. Do it in the ones that I know most common are going to be D, C, and maybe even E as well. But you'll probably know the people that you jam with, and even maybe your own vocal range of just what keys people tend to call more often that you play with, and really try focusing in on those. But as I said, if you know where the chord is, what fret you have to start on, once you know the scale, you can move it wherever you need, and that's the beautiful part about the scale. So please go on, keep practicing, keep learning. If this video was real helpful, please like the video, and if you want to know more, subscribe, leave a comment if you have any more questions or anything else that you'd love me to cover in other videos. Thanks again for watching.